There we go.
All right, got it. Cool. All right, well, thank you, Casey.
You're
And
welcome.
thank you to you all who are attending today. Really appreciate your attention and taking time out from, I'm sure, very busy days, especially this time of the year, to learn about some of the new technology that we just rolled out. When was it? Last week or the week before? Recently. Um,
Yeah, my time is gone.
yeah, I know, no kidding. But anyway, you all, anybody that has a Bionic login has this new software now. So we wanted to tell you about it. It's pretty cool. And it's something that we've wanted to do for a long time. So it's about um, flowing media budgets, and we'll talk about what that is in a minute. But that's the fluid media budgets, flowing media budgets. Really, essentially, what it is all about is keeping track of money. And so I'll spend about 5 minutes just doing an overview of what it is. Casey is going to give a live demo for 15 minutes or so, and we'll have time at the end for Q&A. And you can ask questions anytime. So there's a, depending upon which version of Zoom you're using, there's a Q&A button somewhere on your screen. And just hit that Q&A. And if I'm presenting, Casey will interrupt me with your question. And then when Casey's presenting, I'll interrupt her. So feel free to ask questions anytime. You don't have to wait until the end. So I'm Joe Pych. I'm the CEO here at Bionic, and I'll just give a quick intro to what we're talking about today. This is, first of all, just an overview of the Bionic solution. So the product that we're talking about, or the tools that we're talking about today, is really falling under monitoring and optimization of your media programs. And again, in particular, reflowing the media budgets. So if you've been using Bionic for a while, you've probably noticed that there's been a section in your media plan for that shows your net media costs broken down by month. And depending upon what kind of pricing you have, you can also edit your monthly budget right here within the plan. So that's all great, when you're in planning mode, but as your ads start running, data starts feeding into Bionic. And again, if you've been using Bionic for a while, you know that the performance data comes in, we do pacing, things like that. A common question we've had over the years is, can I see this in my media plan? And so that's really kind of what this new set of features is all about. So today, if you log into Bionic, you'll notice that for months that are in the past, so like say August 22 here, there's some new fields, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And so there's also the current month, which is September, some more new fields and some new fields on the total. So one of the things that you'll notice is that, as the data starts flowing in, or you could actually just, if you don't have a data feed, you could just enter it directly into your media plan. The actual amount of money spent versus your plan will come right into your media plan. And Bionic will automatically calculate your pace relative to your plan. And then also the variance. So in this case, the original plan was 10,000. The actual amount net media delivered was 8,000. So that's 20% behind pace, or $2,000 behind pace. So this is where the flowing comes in. So now here we are in September, and we had an original budget of 10,000, but because we had a shortfall in the previous month, what Bionic will do is automatically calculate what's known as an adjusted plan. So that's going to take the 10,000 and add the 2,000 shortfall from August right in there. In addition, we'll be pulling in performance data day by day. So even though today is the 29th, let's imagine, just to make the math gets really complicated. So just to make the math easy for me, let's pretend that we're exactly halfway through the month in September. So today's September 16th. So imagine it is. So we've got September 1st through 15th data in here. And the reason I say that is because we're looking at the pacing now. And so the pacing is plus 20% to your original plan. So you might ask, well, why is it plus 20%? Because 6,000 is not 20% more than 10,000. The reason is, assuming that the 10,000 is evenly paced, if you're halfway through the month, like you should only be at 5,000. So 6,000 over 5,000 is 20%. Next question is like, all right, that was our original plan, but what about our adjusted plan? Turns out we're right on. Like, so halfway through 12,000 is 6,000. That's how much we're spent. Everything looks good. And then the other question is like, this month, as a media planner, you want to know how much money do we have left to spend? And so we have 6,000, which is the 12,000 minus the 6,000 here. So now you're getting all this information, and you didn't have to touch anything. All this is being calculated for you. Then in the totals, you have some more information now that's new. So your original plan was $30,000. So far, you've spent 14,000. So the 8 plus 6. You have 16,000 left, which is the 30 minus the 14. And that pace overall is minus 6.67 to where you should be at that point. So again, remember, we're only partway through this flight. So it's going August, September, and October. At this point, we should have, just assuming even pacing, spent about $15,000, and we've only spent 14. So that's why it's the 6.67% behind. Another question is like, if we continue at this pace, how much will we spend? And so you can see here that if we continue at this pace, we're not going to spend the 30,000. We're going to spend only 28. So we, certainly need to get things on track. And then also that's, going to be a $2,000 shortfall. So this is like a really simple example, but you could see like if you start to have like a bunch of placements and flighting and everything else, this can get really complicated really fast. And so another tool that we have built in here is that, as you're looking at this in the media plan, you'll see color coding. So if it's like, if you're not delivering enough ads, if you're falling short, it's what we consider to be cold. So it gets color coded as cold. So you can see here with the minus 20% and the minus 2,000. And then if you're delivering too fast, that's considered hot, and that's why this is color coded red for the plus 20%. So that's kind of a quick overview of some of these new fields. And unless there's any questions, I guess I can turn it over to you, Casey, to do a live demo.
Great. And we do have a question in regards to how do we get media spend into Bionic, and I will cover that when I when I get into my part of it. So
Okay, all
we
right,
will
good.
answer that.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of ways. So
There's a lot, yes.
I'll let you cover that, Casey.
Okay, great. And I'll warn you, I am just starting to have some internet issues, and I'm wondering if I'm sort of hitting the storm. So let me know if there's any problems.
Okay, it's all good so far, Casey.
Okay, great.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Let's see here. I just need to stop yours, Joe.
Oh, okay, sorry.
No, that's okay. Let's see. Where's my, there we go. Sorry. Looking for buttons here. There we go. Okay, I've got it. I'll move this out of the way. Very good. Are you able to see that okay, Joe?
Yeah, it looks great, Casey.
Great, great. Thank you guys so much for coming. We're really excited to be able to present this, really helping you give you some insight into making those decisions month to month where you need to make changes to get the most out of the advertising that you have running. So as you see on my screen right here, this is the new version in platform, and very similar to what it was before. However, obviously a lot more data and colors and all of that to help you be able to navigate what is going on. So what I will do is I'll start by just talking a little bit about getting data in. We'll dive into that a little bit further. you obviously have your planned data. So we have, the planned information that's coming in based on what you're putting into your media plan. But then for the actuals to understand what's going on, there's a few different ways to go about having this data. The first and easiest is having performance integrations set up that will pull from the various platforms that you may be working across, have that feed automatically into Bionic. And so we have integrations with a lot of platforms. So those would be the kinds of things that if you are not currently utilizing that functionality, reach out to us. You can do chat, you can reach out to your client success manager, whatever, you just reach out to us and we're happy to help you get that established. Now, if, there are those circumstances where you can't get the data from a platform, we, can't necessarily automate it. In those cases, you are able to manually enter the actuals as you get them. So you do have the ability to go in, and I'll show you that as we go through this process. The other thing being is that if you have data coming in and for whatever reason, it needs to be a different amount, whatever the circumstances might be, you always can override performance data that comes in. And again, I will show you that as we go through. So kind of digging into this a bit deeper, you can see we've got these months broken out. You will notice September is highlighted. It's highlighted in a yellow color. This will always represent the current month. That way it makes it very easy for you to pay attention to what you need to focus on at the current point in time. But looking back at August, you'll see we've got a planned amount and an actual amount, which then will automatically calculate your the variance out of that as well as the pace. So, and then this data is then used to push forward to give you insight into the current month, so you can, again, make adjustments as needed as that month goes along. During the current month, we're able to give you a little bit of extra information because, again, we've got this planned amount. We've got the this adjusted planned amount based on whatever the numbers ended up being from the last month. Let's see. So you can see that it kind of adjusted the 220 that this was shorted. And then as we go through here, it shows you that actual from which you can then see, what do you have left to spend? What is the adjusted pace to date? And then what is the pace to date based on that variance to date versus the planned to date. So that will give you this insight. You'll notice these, these red indicators showing that I am in excess of where I expected to be. And now, for the pacing, this is going to show up as either the red or the blue, as you can see down here, because it's under. Those will fall in within a 10% variance window, just based on industry standards. And then your amount, again, that will be down to the penny, whatever, if you're off on that, that will give you an indicator in one direction or the other if that's off. Okay. Moving forward, we then have October. So that's giving us just a plan because we haven't gotten there. But what will happen is come October, it'll actually start October 2nd because we'll need to wait to have the October 1st data come in. But you will then be able to see the that'll switch over to your current month and start showing you those numbers as they occur. What will then happen is you can look at your total. This will give you some insight into the big picture so that you can see where you are looking at the entire period of time to date to be able to make decisions. If things are really off, maybe you really need to make some adjustments to the upcoming months to either up or down to make sure that things are on track, or hey, this isn't working at all and we need to, maybe shift money someplace else. Hey, are there any questions so far?
Casey, no, there's no questions at this point, but I
Okay.
encourage anybody that might have a question, certainly feel free to ask them.
Definitely do that. Great. The other thing I'm going to point out, which I probably should have earlier, if you have performance integrations today, this is automatically showing. So there's nothing special you have to do. It's just automatically here. So you've probably already seen that. Let's see. Now, looking at the bottom here, just showing you, this is totaling everything up. So again, it's giving you that big picture view of what's happening. You can get that sense of, across your entire plan, where are you in line with those overall expectations? Really quick trick I want to show you as well is that if you have, let's say I only have one of each kind of thing here, but let's say I wanted to go down here and look at, I don't know, I could look at a specific channel, or I could look at a specific program or a specific field. I can do some filtering. So I'll just do some online display here. And this is going to look at however you've based your filtering. So maybe you filter by tactic, or, whatever the case might be. You can get that subset of data down and be able to see what's happening in that segment of data. So that'll give you a quick, easy view just for those individual lines. It will also give you totals for just those lines. So if that bigger picture is what's important, you can get some sense of that as well. It also does break out what's not in in your line display, so you can see those, and then it still gives you the complete total at the bottom.
So Casey, this will show you, like in this case, you're looking at the online display channel. You can see like last month in August, we spent $49,390 and we are 7.79% behind
Yep.
pace, and I had a shortfall of 4770, and that shortfall got carried forward into September, into
Yep.
in the adjusted plan. And so yeah, that's pretty cool. So it's kind of telling you in the past, here's where you're ahead or behind, and then in the present month, like here's your status up to date. I guess the other thing it shows is that in online display we have $790 more to. Oh no, we actually spent too much.
Too
We're a
much.
little over. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So it'll give you some really, really good ways of kind of cutting that data down based on however you need to review it, making it easier to just manage subsets of data, which I know is often helpful. So a couple other things real quick.
I
Say,
do
let
have a
me,
couple of questions for
oh,
you.
sure.
Yeah. So there's actually just one question.
Mhm.
So the question is from Andrew. Andrew asks, does any of this change how we upload actuals via the media plan worksheet?
I'm not sure what you mean by the media plan worksheet, but this is certainly something that this may be specific to how you're working. We'd be happy to connect. So reach out and let us know. We can work through any of those questions that may be specific to how you're operating.
I guess I could
But
help with this too.
in general, nothing should change. But it just may be revolving around anything specific that you're doing that may be different than the straightforward, straight line way.
Yep. Yeah. So the question, yeah, so I think the thing that's throwing you off, Casey, is like when you upload the media plan
Mhm.
worksheet, that uploads the media plan data.
Yep.
Uh, so none of that changes at all. So that
Nope.
stays exactly the same. And then as far as the performance data, which comes in separately, so it's like it's kind of idea is you plan before you run the campaign, and then as the campaign's running, the actuals come in.
Mhm.
Uh, that comes in different ways. So that can come in through APIs, or you could, the new thing here is actually you could just either enter it
Mhm.
in if you have no data source. So like I think you had one here,
Yeah, so let
highlight,
me,
for example, right?
yeah, so this would actually start out with nothing because I have no integrations. And so I could go in here and say, hey, for this month, it's, 2,200, and I can just enter that in. This in turn will show me, you can let that update there. It'll show me that it's been manually entered, at
Mhm.
which point I can clear if I need to. The other thing here I'll note is that you'll notice there's a couple of these indicators, little blue. This is a situation where I've gone in and I've made a manual change. So here, if I were to go in and change this 77, let me keep moving my mouse here. There we go. 7730. If I change that to, let's say, 7600, that's going to update. So even though this is coming in from performance data, it lets me override it. It gives me this indicator to which I can go in here and select reset to pull back performance data if I want to. So we never actually completely override any data that's coming in through the automated routes.
Mhm. Okay. And I have another question here that I think I could answer. So the question um, is there any way to make actuals flow between different media plans? So let's say that I am at the end of one of my plans and I have a 1,000 overspend, or no, I'm sorry, I said underspend, and I want to make a note on another plan that this amount is coming in due to an underspend from my previous plan. So the way to do that is to actually just change the plan. So so in your new plan, you just add the 1,000, and you could leave the old plan, as an underspend, and you could just make a note in your new plan that where that came from. So hopefully
Great.
that answers the question.
Wonderful. And then the other thing I'll just note in passing, these, anytime we have performance data coming in, that's already sort of baked into our reconciliation process. But the other thing I'll note here is for those people that may not have the integrations coming in, and if you put in your monthly spend here, that data or any overrides that you make here will pass through for your reconciliations. So that, that just helps the process that much more streamline, data going through for what you need to reconcile.
Mhm. Yeah, that's an
Okay.
important point, Casey, is that
Yep.
even though we're focused here on the media plan, any data that you hear is available all throughout the system. So it's, it'd be too much to go through it here in this webinar, but it is the same data is available on your performance tab. It's available in reconciliations. It's, really all the same database. And so also, if you're using Google Data Studio, it's available there as well. It's available if you're exporting to your BI tools. So it really is kind of a universal data source. So there's, the kind of the new innovation here is also making it super easy to see where you're at right here within the media plan, and with all the pacing and variance numbers and amount left to spend. And then also the ability to just very easily just type in a number if there wasn't a data source for whatever reason. So that way, if you have, say, 19 lines in your media plan and you have APIs on 15 of them, for, the rest of them, you could just, just enter those in to make sure that you have a complete picture of your spending.
Yeah. Great. Okay. Doesn't look like there's any other questions. Does anyone have any last minute items before we let you go?
I have some questions for you, Casey.
Okay.
You could probably guess what they are. So, if somebody wants help using
Yeah.
this new set of tools, how can they get help?
Yes. So use the chat. Email us support@bionic-ads.com or give us a call. There's also help documentation up here on the right. Reach out however you'd like. We will answer regardless of the method through which you reach out to us.
Mhm. Okay. And I guess we have a mix of customers and prospects on on the line here. So
Yeah.
the customers, you already have this. Your software is installed automatically. It's just part of your subscription, so everybody has access to this already. If you don't see these extra fields on your screen, it's probably because the plan is in the future. So if you look at October here, for example, it's in the future, so it just has the simple plan lines. And so but as soon as you get past that and it becomes in the past, you'll start to see these new fields. And then anybody that is interested in trying Bionic, you can sign up for a trial through our website. And this is the, the exact software you'd have access to if you do sign up for that trial.
Yeah. And you can always feel free to reply to any of the emails that we've sent out as well.
All right. Well,
Great.
great job, Casey. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Everyone, thank you. And we'll see you next time.